Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator, and welcome to my woodland realm. Today, we're going to talk about Dark Ages Fae for World of Darkness. Now, how about you sit on down on King Waspinator's knee, and we'll have ourselves a little chat about what it used to mean to be a fairy. World of Darkness, Dark Ages Fae, is, in spite of its mouthful of a title, possibly my favorite of the various sub-games of this line of Dark Ages products for, well, World of Darkness. It is the most radical departure from the source material, Changeling the Dreaming. It reframes a lot of aspects of Changeling the Dreaming after rereading it. Does a good job of something that Changeling the Dreaming failed at, which is placing the Kithane and the Fae folk as monsters. Core concept of all the World of Darkness games is that you're playing monsters hiding amongst humanity. Up until the point they put Hunter out as a book, that is. And Changeling, by leaning so much on whimsy and focusing on the Seelie court as the more player character oriented of the two courts, Changeling always came across as a bit more brightly colored and whimsical compared to the other World of Darkness games. Dark Ages Fae firmly takes them back to their roots as being creatures of grim fairy tales, and all that implies in the original sources. They're also unique amongst the various denizens of the World of Darkness, in that 2 out of the 3 origins of Fae presented in this book have no experience at all of being human. Even entities such as demons or changelings in the later book, even though they might be alien entities in origin, they take over the bodies and lives of humans and assume their memories and are changed by the experience one way or the other of inhabiting the human form. Whereas the Inanime and the Firstborn and Dark Ages Fae, while they can put on the illusion of a human seeming, they've never really quite lived in a human's shoes, which makes them possibly the most unique creatures that you can play in any World of Darkness title. Now, the thing with Dark Ages Fae is that they're at a crux in their civilization. They're on the eve of war at the end of a long period of truce between the 4 seasonal courts that divide them. And because we know how things turned out in Changing the Dreaming, we all know that they're marching towards a massive and titanic mistake that's going to leave them forever altered and diminished, and will turn them into something of a child's whimsy as opposed to a dark force from the very dawn of creation. Now, there's 3 primary origins that define your Fae character. There are the Firstborn, who you could basically describe as being a proto-she. There are the Inanime, who are mentioned throughout Changing the Dreaming, but are actually a playable character here, and this is how you get stuff, like living clockwork puppets, or dryads, naiads, oreads, all your various kind of Greek nymph type of Fae folk. And then there are proper changelings, the original type of changeling, where it's either a fairy child that was raised by humans as a human, or a human child who was raised by fairies as a fairy. Now, I never got around to looking at the Chronicles of Darkness version of Changeling, but from what I do know of it, I feel that in this book you somewhat get the kernel of that conceptualization of changelings. While definitely being a book that is heaviest in, being a fantasy version of the Dark Ages compared to what you get out of Dark Ages Vampire or Dark Ages Inquisitor, I find it the most personally engaging and the most interesting. It's certainly the one that had, gained my attention and I had the most fun reading compared to trying to slog my way through Inquisitor or Dark Ages Mage. And even with the changes done to the system of magic that you see in Dark Ages Mage, the essential nature of what a mage is and what a mage does is not as radically different from how the Fae of this time period operate in relation to the changelings of later days. Now, they are crisscrossed and divided up not only by their origins as a being of Fae energy, they also have their seasonal courts. It's no longer just the summer and the winter court as survive in the modern times as the Seelie and Unseelie. They also still have a spring court and an autumn court, and then there are those who choose not to follow any of the courts and take the solstice as their seasonal designation. The spring court and autumn court are arguably the more interesting of the ones to be found in this game, especially since they all but disappear after whatever event occurs when the Fae all finally do go to war. The spring court concerns itself with life and growth and creativity and creation. The summer courts concern themselves with duty and honor and following the rule of law and justice. The autumn court is about knowledge, seeks to understand humanity the best. And the winter court is the closest to the modern unseelie court. They are a bunch of rabid individualists and are the most likely to embrace and over-exaggerate their dark sides. Fae characters are also further subdivided by a variety of personal political agendas that player characters will have. These are not hard and fast factions. These are general trend lines that most changelings will find themselves in one column or the other, especially in regards to how they look at the end of the truce and the beginning of the war, and whether or not their chosen court has any chance of achieving victory. These agendas are like a character's nature and demeanor in your average World of Darkness game. They don't have a lot of specific effects on character generation or your character's abilities, but they do provide a role-playing guidepost for helping you come up with how your character is going to make decisions as they move forward through the labyrinthian plots of Fae culture in the 13th century AD. Dark Ages Fae pairs up very well with Dark Ages Mage and Dark Ages Inquisitor. In fact, the Inquisition and the Fae make very natural enemies, even more so than the demons and the Inquisitors do, as the Fae themselves are responsible for a lot of the horrible myths that the Inquisition is out to fight and put an end to. The system of magic in Dark Ages Fae is also greatly improved over the cantrip system presented in Changeling the Dreaming. While cantrips as specific spells do still exist in Dark Ages Fae, instead of being pulled between glamour and banality, instead of Changeling's magic is defined by their command of the mists and of the power to weave spells, mists and weaving. They can unleash raw magic, or they can unleash real specific spells in the form of cantrips that are related to the dominion that they are skilled in, and the dominions that a character has access to are largely determined by which seasonal court they have. Dominions being based upon specific times of the day-night cycle. Once again, easily my personal favorite of the Dark Ages books I'm covering in this, and pairs very well with Dark Ages Mage, Devil's Due, and Dark Ages Inquisitor. So that's it for now. Be sure to stay tuned. The next episode in this series will be talking about Dark Ages Mage. Do all the normal things required of you to be a good YouTuber. Hit like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, share the video, all that other kind of good nonsense. And until next time, stay waspinated.
Enter a world of magic and the paranormal with Ghosts of the Shadow Zone. 2 complete tabletop games in one. Featuring source material such as The Young and the Restless Dead and Secrets of the Lesbian Illuminati, as seen in the classic horror tabletop collection. Available now at Amazon.com and DriveThruRPG.